Dan, how are you?
Hey, Paulie. Yeah, really good. Sun is shining. Melbourne's thriving. It's good to be here. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm doing really well. It's about 30 degrees outside for us Australians or Melbourneites, should I say. And it is pretty damn hot. I got my vegetable juice here with me, and I am one happy chappy.
Awesome. And did you get any training in today? Because today the topic is eating, pre-training, post-training. What's the experience? What's the science? I'd love to hear a little bit about how the day's unfolded and what you've done and when you've eaten.
Yeah, well, I only ate recently at about 12, as I normally do. And I trained early in the morning or earlier in the morning, probably at about 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And let's start with the science, shall we? When it comes to eating before training versus eating after training, there's so many scientific studies that can prove evidence for or against each argument. But ultimately, energy, or should I say calories, food is made up of calories. Calories equals energy. So you are literally going to have energy in your system if you eat an hour and a half or so before you train. So it makes sense that you will have energy to burn when you are training. There is no doubt about that. Having said that, the the energy that you have consumed the day before is also a sufficient amount that is going to remain in your system for you to train. It's not like like you're not able to get out of bed first thing in the morning without eating. So I personally have found training in a fasted state to be a really, really efficient way to train, and for a number of reasons. The you know the reasons that I kind of lend myself to is I just feel lighter, and I feel like I'm able to complete more in a more nimble fashion. I also might have a coffee before I train because I train in the morning. I don't drink coffee after lunchtime, or even probably about 10 or 10:30, but that just gives me a little bit of a caffeine kick before I actually do train. So that's something for me to do. Um, but not eating after you train as well, remaining in that fasted state, does a number of cool things as well. It keeps your body in this fat adaptative state where you're essentially you're making your body metabolically nimble, and you're giving your body the opportunity to be able to get its energy stores and recovery stores from something other than food. And once again, we can go from side to side in this argument, left, right, and center. But ultimately, I've found that to be a really good way for you to get into that fat adaptive state. Now, the classic way of thinking is eating straight after you train is a great way for recovery, which is very, very true. But ultimately, the moral of the story, as far as I'm concerned, is you never want to be too attached to any theory when it comes to this. Actually, I never want to be attached or dogmatically attached to any theory anywhere. And this is a perfect example of it, because you want to keep your body guessing. And as I said before, you want to keep your body metabolically adaptive and elastic. So your body doesn't expect to fast after you train, and it doesn't expect to eat after you train, and vice versa before.
And just for your experience in the past, obviously now you say you train in a fast state most. Was that changed pre doing this? Were you eating before? Were you eating directly after? Like, what's been your experience? Obviously, you've done lots of different types of training. What's been your experience, and why do you feel the benefit of training in a fasted state now?
Yeah, so it also comes down to what type of training I might be doing as well. Like, if I'm going for let's say I'm at the gym and I'm going through a really heavy strength mesocycle where I'm lifting 2 RM or a 3 RM, which is a 3 rep max on a deadlift or whatever it might be, which I've gone through in the period in the past. I've gone through competitive Olympic lifting, which is about lifting a really bloody heavy weight from the ground to above your head in a really short period of time. Now, for that, it makes sense for me to have my body fueled in that sense. So I will time my eating out in that sense and give myself an opportunity to, to lend those calories to the strength process. Did I try doing that in a fasted state? Not necessarily, but I have done strength training in a fasted state before, and I'm honestly, since I've been intermittent fasting, and no problems at all.
Yeah, great. So I guess, kind of moving towards what each of our experiences are, and whoever's checking in on this, it's so important to just check in with yourself and see what works for you and keep your body guessing. I know for myself, someone who lived and breathed for getting up and eating straight away and then going about my day to day with the training that I would do, removing breakfast just to challenge myself with time restricted eating after. It was a big challenge, not just in a training physical sense, but just habitual sense too, because I was so used to, eating a specific way, and also training and then eating directly after. I mean, I think I just got wrapped up with so many ideas from things I'd read and, documentaries I'd seen, and, science is always changing. So I think it's really important to be flexible and agile with how we eat and how we train. So for me now, I love mixing it up. I think, I do long endurance sessions when it comes to swimming, riding and running. And sometimes I do them in a fasted state. Sometimes I also have a black coffee. Sometimes I'll have a date or a banana an hour to an hour and a half before. And I feel completely nourished and satisfied doing, 100K rides, a couple kilometers swim or a 10 plus K run. I feel completely fine. And then directly after that, it's all about hydration. And I just spend much time just hydrating my body until it's just really clear, like I am ready to eat. But for me, it's become about listening to my body rather than just doing what I think I should be doing. And it's so much more relaxing and freeing then. And I think listening to the body it gets the most reward because you're doing exactly what the body's asking.
Yeah.
And I want to tune into that more and more and more because this is a new style of nutrition approach that I've kind of brought into my life in the last year or so. And I feel like I'm really young in terms of developing that skill set of knowing how to eat and when to eat and how much I need. And of course, when you're always learning, you make some errors and some, things that you eat and put in your body at different times has an effect that might not be so positive or beneficial. And it's like, okay, tweak that and try something else next time. And it's all about just exploring what works. And this question came up for a hero clients. That's why we wanted this conversation. And ultimately, I feel like go and have a look at the science, but tread carefully and also have a look instinctively in your own experience, what works. And then also change that up and challenge yourself there too.
Yeah, I think what you said at the end there is something to really kind of, finish this conversation off with it, which is, in my research, acknowledging that the science kind of backs up both angles. So it's about checking in with yourself and being as aware as you possibly can. And I think a good takeaway from this is or an action item for this, for our Hero Tribe members or Art of Healthy Dads, is for you guys to just have a think about when you're starting to feel hungry in relation to when you're training, and just begin to start either making mental notes or take a note in your phone or journal it and just get an understanding, see if there are patterns forming, see if you start to just instinctively kind of get hungry when you know that training is about to come up or whatever it might be, but just start to notice certain habits coming in play. And there may be if you bring it into your consciousness, then there may be certain patterns that are forming, and then you can kind of prepare yourself for it.
Perfect. Yeah, look forward to hearing from everyone and hope this chat helps with how you go into your next training session, whether in a fast state or well nourished, and what happens post training too. So I look forward to hearing from everyone. Thanks, Paulie.
Thanks, Dan.